Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Sin City Crypto. My name is David. I'll be one of your co-hosts. And today, like every single weekday, we're coming at you live from our beautiful studio in the heart of Las Vegas, Nevada. And on today's live show, we are rating a $70,000 portfolio. I got a lot of stuff to talk about. Forrest has a lot of stuff to talk about. Also, we're covering Sam Bankman-Fried, a big witness today as Caroline Ellison takes a stand. We have some news on her and what she said. Also, it seems like FTX and Alameda minted close to 50% of the total USDT supply. What does that mean for the industry? We'll discuss that and much more. But first, here's your other host, Forrest. How you doing, Forrest?
What's up?
Good to see you, man.
Thanks for having
me. It's been
a
long time, man. I miss you.
Yeah.
It's been 24 hours.
Too long. 24 hours. 23.
Long time, man. It's a long time. You better not change when the baby comes. I swear to God. Man. We want to thank Forrest for joining us again. I believe Rob will be back tomorrow. So if he does come back tomorrow, you'll have the dynamic trio of me, Forrest, and Robin. So should be fun. It's going to be a fun show today, man. I'm excited. If you guys are excited, hit the like button and tell me you're excited in the chat by putting a 1 in the chat. Let us know. Now, to get things going, I would like to give a couple shout outs to our channel sponsors. First up is Kim's Blue Wire Technology. If you own a business and you want to maximize your networking, IT, and your cybersecurity, and you just don't have the time or the know-how, or you just don't feel like doing it, call Cam's Blue Wire Tech. They'll walk you through everything, whether it's over the phone, text message, emails. They'll do whatever it takes to get the job done. So visit bluewiretech.com or click the link in the description of this video. Also, big thank you to Radix. Not them. They're not our sponsor anymore. Radix, the top layer 1 DeFi in our space. If you want to learn more about their ecosystem, what the team is doing, roadmap, all the exciting things happening in Radix, visit radixdlt.com or click the link in the description of this video. Now, speaking of videos, I got a video. I got a lot of animal videos today, a lot of dog videos. First, let's start with humans. And, well, I'll preface this by saying what Lance here tweeted: when you lie on your resume and, well, you still get the job.
No, what is that?
It's covered in cotton candy.
Nice.
No, that's disgusting.
You like cotton candy? I love cotton candy.
I bet dogs love him.
Yeah.
No.
It's like honey for a bee.
Yeah.
Now, on to the animals. Well, here's a new way to apparently walk your dog. What the It's weird, right? It's kind of strange.
It's strange because the
It's
owner
kind of
doesn't
wild.
go.
Yeah.
But, okay, who's stranger, the dog or the owner?
Definitely the owner.
The owner? What do you think, Forrest?
I don't know. I guess the dog. It's just it's a weird way.
Very weird
way to walk, but maybe he's trying to be like a human.
Very weird. And then speaking of dogs, here we have a person who caught their dog practicing their mean face.
It's
My
like
dog.
flexing in the mirror.
My dog makes a mean face at my kids all the time because they always bug him. And then finally, the last of the dogs, we have this dog who's stands there.
Not gonna
All
sneak
right,
up on
time to
him.
go, guys. I feel like if we would have combined the first dog with this dog, and he just walked out like a human being in the elevator, that'd be kind of fun. Anyways, guys, I do want to move on to this. This is funny, but not really funny. This is more scary than funny. Look at this, Forrest. By the way, guys, if you're not following Charlie Bilello, do yourselves a favor. U.S. national debt, okay? June 2nd, 31.5 trillion. July 2nd, 32.3 trillion. August 2nd, 32.6. September 2nd, 32.9. October 5th, 33.5. That is $2 trillion added to the U.S. national debt in 4 months. Does this worry you, Forrest?
Yeah, I mean, this is the hyperinflation scenario, right?
What does hyperinflation mean? Can you explain that? What why would that be a negative thing? Maybe some people
Rapid
don't understand hyperinflation and
Yeah, it's just essentially the rapid erosion of your purchasing power. I think we showed something yesterday where over the last 3 years, since October of 2020, the average American's purchasing power has been reduced by over 20%.
yep.
And that's obviously, evident by the rapid printing of money, and the what we're looking at here, U.S. national debt. This is a problem. It's a major problem, and it's really why there's so many people in this space that are interested in markets, but B, interested in crypto and Bitcoin, because there's potential to create a solution for hyperinflation with something that has hard coded inflation metrics or hard coded inflation emissions like Bitcoin. So yeah, this is worrisome. We'll see what happens. It's probably not going to be comfortable.
Every time I think about hyperinflation, the picture of I saw a few pictures on social media of $100 trillion. There you go. That's all we need. We just need one of those, and then we can solve all our debt problems, guys. I just think when the word hyperinflation comes out, I just think of pictures of people walking on currency in countries like Venezuela and Argentina, where they're just literally all over the floor. And typically, when you see money on the floor, people will stop and pick it up. Instead, in these countries that see hyperinflation, we're seeing people literally walk over their local currency because it's worth nothing. Hyperinflation is, in my opinion, the rate we're going, hyperinflation will come to the US. It's only a matter of time. And if countries continue to move away from holding US government debt, if the US dollar starts losing strength as a world reserve currency, we know what's going on with the petrodollar. Saudi Arabia, for the first time since the 70s, is starting to look at settling trade for their oil in currency other than the US dollar. So we'll see what comes of that. And Rocco here showing in Zimbabwe, they're seeing over 800% inflation year over year. We know in Argentina and Venezuela, it's over 100%. And so I guess my question to you, Forrest, would be, okay, let's say we all agree that hyperinflation is gonna come one day. What is your strategy? What are you doing? And maybe not, if you don't feel comfortable telling people what to do, what are some things they should look at or some things they should research to best prepare themselves to not be financially harmed if that time does come?
Yeah, so the number one thing I would personally say would be to work on skills that can ultimately make you more money. So whether that is through investing or whether that's through business, whether that's through a side hustle, whatever it is, being able to make more money is of paramount importance. Like you're going to have to, like if your purchasing power is being eroded by 20% over the last 3 years, if you're not making 20% more money than you were 3 years ago in terms of your income, you're moving backwards, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is learn more about investing. Learn more about cryptocurrency, learn more about gold, learn more about commodities, whatever it is. You can outperform the market in a variety of different markets, if you have the knowledge and the skill set to do so. Bitcoin is often touted as a life raft and crypto as a life raft, and I think there's a really strong argument for that, and I think that Bitcoin with only it's 21 million cap and Ethereum with tokenomics and crypto in general with tokenomics and supply, that is essentially written in code. There's a lot of promise there, and it's something worth spending a lot of time understanding and learning about. But you could learn about any market. You could learn about Forex. You could learn about precious metals. You could learn about commodities. If you look at the charts recently, I think it's on like cattle and orange juice. They're both up over like 300% over the last 2 years.
Oh, they're mooning, bro.
So
They're
yeah, they are
mooning.
mooning. They've been like really the best investments have been some of these commodities over the last few years. So spending some time to actually understand your investments, whatever sector they are, and heavily obviously we're both heavily involved in crypto, so that we I would hope that you spend a lot of time in understanding crypto, and I think that's going to be one of the fastest growing areas. But really understanding investments and understanding finance and money and the economy in a way that can benefit you, rather than just saying, hey, here's all my money, give it to a financial advisor. That can go wrong in a lot of ways. Is it better than the alternative of not knowing anything about crypto and anything about money, anything about investing, and trying to have at it yourself without good risk management? Of course, seek guidance from an investment professional. But I'm more and more turning to the ideas, if you have the time, and you have the determination and the skill set to take control of your own money. And I'm not saying not to listen to investment professionals. Sure, seek their help and guidance. But I really think that you can outperform if you take matters into your own hands in a responsible and disciplined way.
That is some great advice, Forrest. You know, I always try to play these games with Robin, and he's never good at it. But you are. You're a smart guy. If I were to ask you, Forrest, I'm just saying, I asked Robin to play along here. He's always got 500 questions. Anyways,
Don't worry, it's going to
Forrest,
be back tomorrow.
yeah, great. I'd like to ask you, Forrest, if the US dollar does lose reserve currency status, do you think it's going to be, okay, who's the next country that has the most GDP, the most economic growth? Or do you think we're done relying on another country's currency to serve as a world reserve currency, and we might see something else? Do you have a thesis on that or any thoughts you want to kind of share? I know you're a pretty outside the box thinker.
Yeah. So, I first of all, I don't think that the U.S. dollar loses its status as the world reserve currency as fast as a lot of people think. I think it's something that, I mean, look at the United States military. Yes, I think the U.S. economy has weakened, and our country is kind of being dragged into these different conflicts, and we're burning money, or printing money and giving these aid packages to Ukraine and Israel. And I'm not going to get into the politics of whether you think that's right or wrong, but the way most empires do fall is through the rapid printing of money, and then being spread thin in terms of being pulled into a lot of wars and conflicts. And that's what we're seeing with the U.S. But I don't think that the U.S. is going to give up its status of the U.S. dollar being the world reserve currency without a big fight, and that could take a long time. I don't think it'll be as simple as we get we get some inflation in 2 years, we're using the Chinese yuan or something else as a world reserve currency. So I do think it'll take time. That being said, so there's kind of two forms of thought: is a new fiat currency, whether that's the Chinese yuan or another country's currency rises in power. I think the number one candidate is probably the Chinese yuan, to potentially take
I don't know.
world reserve currency.
A lot of people are saying
Oh,
India might be.
India. There's another possibility. So those are then the contrary thesis, and kind of the pro crypto thesis is a crypto world reserve currency such as Bitcoin. That I do think there is legitimate merit to, but among people that are in the crypto crowd, I probably weight that possibility as two things: a little bit less likely than most pro Bitcoin and pro crypto people do. I do think it's a distinct possibility, but I also think that traditional finance is really, really entrenched. And it could take, and the other piece of this is, if Bitcoin were to become the world reserve currency, or we were to move to some sort of crypto backed standard, two things: I think it would take a lot longer than what people think. And I also believe that it's more, rather than just moving straight to a Bitcoin backed dollar or a Bitcoin backed currency or world reserve currency, you likely see it as part of a bucket, part of a basket, filled with other commodities like oil, gold, silver, copper, precious metals, whatever, what have you. I think that's something that RFK might have outlined as potentially wanting to throw Bitcoin into a basket of commodities. I think that's a little bit more realistic in having crypto introduced into the traditional finance currency world that way, than I think, everybody just, one day deciding, hey, Bitcoin's going to be the world reserve currency. And, I think we're much more likely to see a hybrid transition model than everybody just snapping their fingers and be like, oh, it's going to be Bitcoin as of tomorrow or as of, over the course of a year. I think it'll take a while and there will be a transition.
I tend to agree. I don't think it's going to be the Chinese yuan. I think, people look at China and think their economy's strong. It's really not. Their economy's like crumbling. They're having a hard. They're in massive deflation. People are not spending money. They're hoarding money. You have a vast majority of the youth that is unemployed. So it's not good over there either. And then you look at, and I've seen this make its rounds on Twitter and X, is fiat currency, the ability to print money out of thin air is what allows a lot of these wars and what you see happening across the globe happen. If you take a look at historically, and I'll kind of leave it at this and I'll move on from this topic. Look at historically back even in the 20s and the late 80s when the UK was still the epicenter of the world as far as reserve currency, they had to devalue their currency and get off the gold peg to fund the wars they were going in. So we've seen that across the world. So does it mean that if we do get off the fiat standard and maybe do either whether it's Bitcoin, crypto, or a basket of commodities that backs a global reserve currency, what does that mean for war? I mean, obviously, I don't think anyone likes the idea of war or countries going to war, but something interesting that's kind of tied in that I think about a lot too. I like to think, like you, Forrest, I like to think outside the box as well. And so, all right. Guys, we do have our Rate My Portfolio segment coming up here in a little bit. Just a few things we're going to cover first. But if you follow us on Twitter, you saw which portfolio we're rating. Lot of my friend Brendan, I asked him if he wanted me to tag him in the post. He said yes. And so a lot of you were not happy. Some of you said it's good. You're going to get our takes on it, but should be a fun one today. So we're excited. And big thank you to all of you that submitted your portfolios. Just because we didn't choose it this week does not mean that we won't choose it next week. We will continue to essentially move them over to the following week with the addition of the new ones that we get throughout the week. All right. Speaking of the week, the end of this week is the last day that the SEC has to file an appeal in the Grayscale lawsuit. The agency has been stacking losses when it comes to crypto litigation. This is from Eleanor Tourette. Do you think the SEC will appeal? So obviously, this is a big one that we're looking at. Another interesting one is what I've been seeing from the likes of James Seifert, Eric Balchunas, the ETF specialist that work for Bloomberg. A lot of people are saying it's very interesting that after the last delay of the spot ETFs, the SEC actually started reaching out to some of these companies to get some clarification, something that they have not done prior. They're still putting an ETF approval, a Bitcoin spot ETF approval, at 75% by the end of the year. We talk about it on the show all the time. The amount of liquidity that will be unlocked and flood into the crypto and, the Bitcoin market and thus the crypto market is going to be pretty massive. And so any input or thoughts on the Grayscale thing here first? I think it's pretty straightforward.
Yes, this is a big deal. I think you want to be at your desk. If not, have some access to funds when this decision comes out. Make sure you're following the relevant news networks. This is going to be probably a very volatile market or a very volatile move for Bitcoin based on this decision. At least that's what I'm predicting. I think if Grayscale essentially wins, if I'm not mistaken, Grayscale essentially wins if they don't appeal, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, so I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this really sets the stage for
if the SEC
Grayscale to have an.
If the SEC does not appeal, I mean, that we can all agree that the spot ETF is 100% coming, right? I mean, well, what's your take on that?
That's my understanding too. I want to firm that up and just make sure we're going into Friday. But my expectation is if that's the case, then this is a massive win for Bitcoin. If they do not appeal, if they appeal, and then it's back to waiting for more results and waiting for more more decisions to be made. But yeah, if we get a clear cut decision in favor of Grayscale, then that's a big win for Bitcoin, and I'd expect upside.
Amen to that. And so, like Forrest said, expect some volatility on Friday. of course, we are probably going to get, you're going to get some of the people that have access to the news before it hits the mainstream media, right? We'll get whispers in their ear as far as what the SEC is going to do. And if they don't appeal, I would expect a pretty big pump from Bitcoin. But we'll see. I could be wrong. Now, we have video footage today. You saw it on the thumbnail. Caroline Ellison is testifying in court against former boss and boyfriend Sam Bankman-Fried. And dude, so this is a video I'm sharing from Blonde Broker, but I saw this somewhere else and it said Caroline Ellison walking into court looks like a New York rat scurrying out of a restaurant. Just this is pretty funny. Anyways, there's Miss Caroline, sweet Caroline. So she's blaming Sam. So this is from Cointelegraph. Just a little insight on what's going on here. Caroline Ellison blames Sam for misuse of FTX user funds at her trial. She admitted to fraud during her time at Alameda under Bankman-Fried's direction. The former Alameda CEO reportedly placed the blame for misuse of FTX user funds directly on SBF, claiming he, quote, set up the systems leading to Alameda taking roughly $14 billion from the exchange. They took $14 billion from the exchange. Oh, that's a lot of money. Alameda took several billions of dollars from FTX customers and used it for investments, said Ellison, according to reports. I sent balance sheets that made Alameda look less risky than it was. So fabricating and falsifying documents to make the company seem like it's more profitable than it really is. So any thoughts on this for us before I move on to this Tether news?
Yeah, I mean, I think, didn't we see her? Wasn't she spotted in New York, like, several months after the FTX
by the
thing,
DA office?
Yeah, yeah. I think that she's taken some sort of a plea deal to testify against Sam Bankman-Fried. At the end of the day, right, the big head, like the not the defense, the attorneys, they want Sam Bankman-Fried. If you're prosecuting this case, you want Sam Bankman-Fried. Anything less is a complete failure. So you're going to do whatever you can to get Sam Bankman-Fried behind bars. At the end of the day, the only people who really care, I think, about Caroline Ellison going to jail are people in crypto that really knew how involved she probably was. But as far as headlines go, like, they want to make sure Sam Bankman-Fried is behind bars, and they've probably given her just a softball deal where maybe she serves some time.
Unless you're that guy who wrote that book, Michael Lewis, then maybe you don't want to see Sam go to jail. Bro, that was like just.
Yeah, I think they're just going to let her off easy for turning for blaming Sam Bankman-Fried, testifying him and saying he made me do it, which is probably BS. But I want to see Sam Bankman-Fried behind bars as much as anybody. If that's the cost, I don't like it. I think she should be behind bars too, but it's a tough one. I mean, it's unfortunately, I think that's how the game works sometimes.
They'll get something. Right. I don't think Gary Wang, Nishad Singh, and Caroline Ellison, I don't think they're going to get as harsh of a punishment as Sam, but they'll get something. Right. They'll get something, but who knows? Gary Gensler is a hater, said Simp City Crypto. Kind of funny, actually. Guys, make sure to hit the like button. We're sitting at 140 viewers and only 64 likes. Guys, that's less than 50%. Rocco, you're good at math. What's Italian math for 143 divided by 64?
2 fettuccini and
it's
one
fettuccine. He said the frappuccino. Guys, please do us a favor, support the channel, like the video. Yeah. Also, if you're new here, say hello. I saw a few new people. Wick is in here. Said narc. Stitches get snitches. Not sure that's how the saying goes, but hey. Also, crypto antagonist. Where's Trabucco? I think that's everyone's question. Where is Sam Trabucco? We haven't seen him. We haven't heard of him. We don't know if he's going to testify. So interesting to see. Now, what's more concerning to me is this piece of news. This is from dailycoin.com. Alameda's massive 47% stake in USDT minting revealed or unveiled. So, a couple things I want to highlight, or a highlight here I want to read. Excuse me. The power of Sam Bankman-Fried's fallen empire is widely known in crypto circles. Still, the substantial minting share in Tether's USDT by Alameda is raising eyebrows. The firm, which is now insolvent, created nearly half of the stablecoin's circulating supply. The revelation points to a concerning level of centralization in what is meant to be a decentralized space. A significant portion of the minted USDT fueled liquidity on FTX. One of the pivotal reasons was to enhance liquidity, especially on FTX. By minting the USDT, Alameda could seamlessly channel funds into FTX, ensuring a fluid trading experience for all users on the platform. Furthermore, the abundance of USDT enabled Alameda to engage in market arbitrage, capitalizing on asset price differences across various markets. This was a profitable venture and a mechanism to maintain price stability in the markets they operated in. Almost 50% was minted by Alameda. Here are my thoughts, just my initial thoughts. Holy shit, that's a lot. And you might, and and for those of you that don't know, what does this mean? That means that I take dollars, and if I want stablecoin, I put $1 in, I get $1 USDT back, right? So you burn $1, you give $1 up, and you get a minted USDT coin. The problem is they were using customer funds. So if you went out and bought $1 million worth of Bitcoin on FTX, instead of FTX going out and buying that $1 million of Bitcoin or whatever they needed to do to make sure that your assets that you have on the platform are backed by the platform, they went out, took that money, minted USDT, used that to trade against their customers and do all the BS stuff that they did. And this is also like, what is the real market cap of crypto? If a lot of this was fake, customer money was used to mint, so you're getting double spending. People, it shows you have X amount of Bitcoin in your portfolio, but you really don't because the money's here and being traded and manipulated. What are your thoughts here, Forrest? Are you as concerned as I am, or is this a no big deal to you?
Yeah. So the problem, because this isn't that concerning to me if, and this is an if that we don't necessarily have a ton of insight into, is if in fact the USDT was minted on the up and up with real dollars, and that all those USDT are backed with real dollars that are still in custody of Tether, right? And Tether hasn't taken and done anything super risky with them or embezzled them or stolen them, and they're actually, backed, and Tether has those dollars. Not a big deal. Obviously, it was a big deal in what they were doing and all like the Fugazi money and the probably fake propped up market caps and fake Bitcoin balances, fake dollar balances that weren't really there on FTX. That part has already blown up, and we've seen the after effects of that. But as long as they didn't strike a deal with Tether and say, hey, Tether, mint us 10 billion Tether, but we're gonna only give you $8 billion, and we'll give you 2 billion in FTT tokens, then we have a problem. If that happened, or if they said we'll give you $9 billion and we'll give you 1 billion in IOU or whatever, then there's obviously a problem because there's a shortage in what the USD in the backing of USDT. If USDT is fully backed, and we don't really have insight into this because Tether won't really show it, then if Tether's backed, it's not a problem. But if they tried to mint Tether, or Tether allowed them to mint without fully backing or fully depositing the at a 1-to-1 ratio, then Tether's essentially unbacked, and that's a potential big blow up problem in the crypto ecosystem down the road. And that's something that has haunted the crypto ecosystem for probably the last 6 or 7 years, really since the inception of Tether. There's been a lot of questions about whether or not it's fully backed.
Forrest, I'm going to respectfully push back. I think you're downplaying the impact that when FTX receives $1 billion in deposits and people are buying altcoins and Bitcoin, right? What is that supposed to do? That is supposed to buy the coin, drive the price up, how trading typically works. But what they did was they took that money, didn't do what the customers wanted them to do with with their money, went out and minted the dollars, which hyperinflated USDT and brought that into the market. And then when everyone went to go get their coins, they didn't have enough because they didn't do what they were supposed to do. So I mean, we saw the negative effect on that it had on that. Sure, if it was real dollars and people were holding USDT, sure. But people were depositing their fiat to buy crypto, not USDT. So FTX takes that liquidity and uses it for their own gain, screwing the customer in the end by not having the correct amount of crypto when people go to withdraw their coins. And so for me, it is a big deal. And I understand that, yeah, and I agree with you. If it'll be much worse if it was what you said, hey, we'll give you 80% US dollars, 20% an FTT token. That would be an even bigger travesty. But for me, I look at what the hell did they do to the space, to the markets? Everything was completely manipulated. What would Bitcoin's all-time high have been if this wasn't happening? What would Polygon's all-time high have been? What would Ethereum's all-time high has been? The opportunity cost that people lost who used the FTX platform is massive. And so I don't know. To me, that this is a big deal. And I say my rebuttal with all due respect to your opinion, but I think it's a bigger deal than what you're saying. And I don't know if you had anything to push back on what I said, but.
No, yeah. I think I totally agree. I guess my thought is like, is this a big deal moving forward in terms of, is there going to be continued really bad fallout? Like, are we going to see the crypto market fall apart from where we're at right now because of, this? I agree that in the past, like this was probably a major contributor to the FTX blow up. What they were doing was completely criminal, super bad, very bad for the space, completely, screwed up what, potential market caps could have been. Was a lot of money was not being channeled into the appropriate coins, which could have driven their market caps up, and it was channeled elsewhere and put adding liquidity here and there. And yeah, very, very bad for the crypto ecosystem as a whole. I guess my point is more like, my feeling and my understanding is that the blow up and the downstream or the effects of that have largely blown up already with FTX blowing up. And I'm not certain that from here forward we see a continued, another blow up unless, the downstream effect is that Tether minted a lot of these USDT and they're all still in circulation and they're not actually backed. Then we still have a problem, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. And, I don't like pushing back on you because I like you too much. And Robin's easy, right? Rob's easy to push back on. I can sit and argue with him all day. But I have a hard time. But it's good to get different perspectives. And I want to know what the chat thinks. Are you guys more in line with Forrest as far as minting all this USDT by Alameda was not, I don't want to say was not that big of a deal, but was not that big of a deal. Put a 1 or put Forrest's emoji if you're a channel member. If you're kind of on the overreacting side, maybe I am overreacting, who knows? You agree with me, put a 2 or use my face. And also to all the channel members, all the whale members, hodlers, thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. We love you and we appreciate you all. Also, how the hell did the Packers lose us? Can we get rid of that? What is that? Jimmy, you disrespected me. Anyways, let's move on to times it 34. All right, let's move on. So this is kind of interesting. I want to show this and then we'll get into the markets here. Take a look at some charts and then the rate my portfolio. So here we have from documenting Bitcoin, people living in Nigeria, India, Vietnam, Argentina, and South Africa are the most optimistic about the future of Bitcoin. And I'm just going to blow this up here. And you can see in the green, they're optimistic. Orange, they're neither. So it's like, they don't pick a side. And pink, they're skeptical. And left to right, you can see the countries that are most optimistic about Bitcoin. And again, Nigeria at 60%, India at 58%, Vietnam at 56%, Argentina at 55%. The interesting thing to me, right, out of the 5 that are in the 50%, so Nigeria, India, Vietnam, Argentina, South Africa, 4 of these, I'm not going to call them third world countries, but they have issues with their local currency and everything else. India is the only one where it's like a massive economy that people still have big interest in crypto. But anything on this chart for us kind of surprise you? And then on the flip side, the most skeptical countries are Japan, Canada, and Germany, which Canada's a weird, and Australia, which Canada's a weird one after we saw what happened with the trucker convoy and the government going out and freezing people's funds. But anything on here kind of stand out to you or anything you want to add? Any insight?
Japan's an interesting one because you have such a large chunk that are neither. You do have a large chunk that's skeptical and not very optimistic. But if I'm not mistaken, and I could be wrong because I'm not a forex expert, but Japan's the country where they store their value in U.S. Treasuries, right? They
They're
export
the
a
number
lot
one
of
country.
the Japanese yen. Yeah, so they they're used to not holding on to Japanese yen and instead storing their value in US dollar, which is undergoing inflation. But again, as bad as our erosion in purchasing power has been over the last few years, unfortunately for a lot of other countries, they're in worse, currency situations. Which Japan's really interesting because it's kind of like the opposite problem, right? It's not hyperinflation; it's borderline deflation. So it's kind of like you would think that they, having the currency issues that they do have, they would be more optimistic and pro Bitcoin. But it seems to be the opposite, which is interesting. But they're also on the opposite end of the spectrum. They're not dealing with hyperinflation. So kind of difficult to put yourself in those shoes and try to understand where they're coming from.
Also, as far as the US, they're pretty even across the three-way board here. 28% are optimistic. Sorry, 29% are optimistic. 35% are neither, and 36% are skeptical. And then Rocco's Motherland, everyone's too busy drinking cappuccinos and eating fettuccine to care because the majority of them say neither. So, what do you have to say to that, Rocco?
One thing
Go ahead, Forrest.
Oh, good.
No, please go.
I was gonna say I'd be interested to see how the question is phrased for the survey because, like, if you ask me, like, I'm very optimistic, but I'm also skeptical. Like, me, I'm a big crypto skeptic in general. Like, I think it is kind of a big, massive experiment that we're all, taking part in, and I'm here for it, and I'm excited, and I'm very optimistic about it. But there's always an element of skepticism.
That is an interesting take, Forrest. I didn't think about that. I like that. All right. Let's take a look at this one, and then we'll get into a Bitcoin chart. And so here we go. This is from Ash Crypto. Bitcoin halving is approaching in only 180 days. Where did Bitcoin stand 180 days before the previous halving events? In 2016, Bitcoin was trading at 65% off its all-time high. In 2019, 60% off its all-time high. And currently, we are at 61% off of our all-time high. Bitcoin is mirroring past cycles. And I do want to share this graph here that Ash Crypto included. And you can take a look here. Back in 2016, this is where we were, 180 days pre-halving. And then we saw a massive rally over the next 180 days. In 2020, we kind of saw the opposite. But with a caveat, COVID happened. So would we have seen the same 180-day rally leading up to the halving that we saw in 2015 as we would have seen in 2019 if it wasn't for the pandemic? And as far as where we are now, Forrest, history doesn't repeat itself all the time, but it does rhyme a lot. What they say, or at least I think that's what they say. What are your thoughts on this? This is kind of intriguing to me. Do you think we take a look at trends, and if it wasn't for the pandemic, we would have seen the same trend happen in the 2016 halving 180 days prior, which led to a massive rally? The same thing we would have seen in 2020, and could we potentially see the same thing in 2023?
Yeah, I think we could potentially start to see a rally here. I'm kind of my base case is becoming that we actually might see all-time highs in the S&P 500 soon, and then see a really nasty, ugly crash in Q1 next year. Still kind of forming that thesis, and that may change. But we've seen the correlation with Bitcoin and the S&P 500 in the past. Sometimes it falls out of correlation, but yeah, as we go into, as we approach a halving, you're going to have a lot of people and institutions want to take their Bitcoin, their Bitcoin allocation. And I think a lot of people are fine allocating below 30K. And if we start poking our heads above 31, 32K, you're going to see a lot of people thinking, oh, the halving's coming up quick. Probably need to get some sort of allocation in soon, and that could drive a speculative rally. I am very cautious about all risk assets, equities, crypto, Bitcoin as we move closer and closer towards like January, February. I do think we could see a washout across the board. Potential recession. That's been my thesis for a while, is that eventually we do get some sort of hard landing. But we'll see how Bitcoin fares and all of that. It could rally in the other. It could be the lifeboat, so to speak, that moves in the opposite direction of the rest of the market. We'll see. But as far as as we get closer and closer, I think the early birds, for lack of a better word, the people who kind of see the Bitcoin halving cycles in the past, and they're wanting an allocation to participate in crypto this go around. I think a lot of those people will be taking allocations soon if they haven't already. And the people who have already probably likely to continue to DCA. So yeah, we could see a rally. It's just the one caveat is, guys, this is there's some crazy stuff happening in the economy. It's a very volatile time. You could use that as an argument to be, even more bullish on Bitcoin. But at the end of the day, just be aware that there's volatility ahead, and it might not be a straight shot rally up. It might be a little bit more volatile, and have some drawdowns on the way there. But again, I'm a fan of the 4-year cycle thesis. I do think that it plays out to some degree. I do think I'll also add, I do think there's diminishing returns from each cycle. So yeah, that's my general outlook.
It kind of has to, I do want to, we did get a super chat from Alex81 SG. $10 super chat said the 2020 to 2021 bull run fed off of the creation of unbacked stablecoins out of thin air. The exact same thing the U.S. government does with the dollar, we did in crypto. If that is true, as far as especially with what Alameda and Sam did, if it was unbacked and it wasn't real dollars, then yeah, are these people better than what we point the finger and blame the politicians and government doing? So yeah. Also, Crypto Wolf said, "How can I contact you for a partnership proposal? Shoot us an email. Do admin@sincitycrypto.io. Admin@sincitycrypto.io. You reach us there. Also, Paul Wu, $5 said, Rocco Superstar. Rocco Superstar. All right. Let's take a look at where the crypto prices are. So here we have compliments of Coin Market Cap. Let's go ahead and refresh this. So we're coming in at 1.06 trillion market cap. Volume is down on the 24-hour, down to 23.65 billion. Bitcoin dominance is over 50% yet again. Speaking of Bitcoin, $27,349. ETH 1560. I did see somewhere where ETH is going to, some are saying ETH is going to get down to like $1,300. I don't know how I feel about that, but I haven't really taken a look at a chart in depth. But BNB, top gainer, $207. XRP, under 50 cents. Everything is pretty much bleeding. Solana gave back all its gains, down to 21.86%, down 2% over the 24 hours, down 8.8% over the last 7 days. Cardano, under a quarter. Doge and Tron rounding out the top 10. And then as far as the crypto bubbles, a lot of, I guess some things are flipping green. That's pretty good. Tezos is up 6.3% on the day. Thorchain up as well. Flow is up. Kaspa is up. And Clayton Network, some of the biggest losers. We have DYDX. Kaspa is down almost 10%. And XRD is down 5.5%. Forrest, I do want to look at one chart before we get into rating our portfolio. Any chart that you want to take a look at? We took a look at XMR and Solana. How does the Ethereum chart look, or maybe a Cardano chart or an XRP chart, or anything kind of in the top 15 or 20 that maybe you saw something intriguing or some levels to look out for?
Sure. Do you want to do, is Kaspa okay, or is that too mid?
Yeah, let's do Kaspa. I know a lot of our communities, they're big Kaspa fans, so let's do Kaspa.
Okay. Yeah. So Kaspa, I'll pull up my screen here. Let's go like that. Okay, so Caspa's an interesting one. Let's go to the logarithmic view, and we'll go auto here. And I think Caspa actually may have just been hitting a major point today where it's actually looking pretty rough, right? So what's happened with Caspa is if we pull up the RSI on the daily, we've seen a series of higher highs for price, higher high, higher high, higher high, and lower highs for RSI, and we've just lost the 50-day on the RSI. So that's actually known as bearish divergence, and that's not good if you're bullish and you have exposure here. This is something that I've been, a chart I've been keeping an eye on for a couple reasons. One, because it's just been a historically a very strong chart. It's been in a massive trend, but we've been paying attention to this bearish divergence as a sign of trend exhaustion. So there's a couple things to play out here. So for one, this overall pattern here is a big fat bearish descending wedge that we have now broken down out of. And to me, this very likely sees a mean reversion. What I mean by a mean reversion is a move back down to the 21-week simple moving average, which is trekking upwards because we've been in a strong uptrend for so long. So to me, this is 3.5 to 3.6 cents is very likely, kind of coming back down here to retest this support zone around 3 to 3.5 cents. That is kind of the bear pullback case. We'll give you the bullish case, which it may have been invalidated. Let's clean this up and get rid of the easy bands real quick. But if we draw our trend line from our most recent here, yeah, and we've broken this. So the bull case is if this holds, and I guess it could revalidate this. Maybe by the end of the day, this turns into a wick, but it really needs to shove back up in here really quickly, like by the end of the day or maybe by tomorrow. And then you have what could potentially be an ascending triangle, right? Where you have your resistance up here, your horizontal resistance up here, and then you have higher low, higher low, higher low, right? And then it explodes upwards. That's the bull case for Caspa, but it's becoming less and less likely, especially if we start closing candles, daily candles, that is, outside of this trend line. Then I get a little bit more worried. Now, if we see a strong bottom come in here, right, and we get back into this trend, then yeah, certainly the upside scenario is back on the table. But right now, we're seeing multiple trend lines break at the same time. So we're seeing that one that I've got drawn here, and we're seeing the longer term one break, as of yesterday and today. Right. So this to me screams mean reversion and probably a breakdown to like 3.2, 3.5 cents. I'm personally shorting Caspa 1x leverage as a basket of shorts, hedged with a Monero and Bitcoin long, right? My thesis is that some of these overbought coins like Storj yesterday and Caspa yesterday are going to be underperforming stuff like Bitcoin and XMR and potentially Solana. Solana is giving a lot back today as well. But I would be wary of trend exhaustion here. You kind of have your tilted head and shoulders here playing out as well. So this to me screams mean reversion. It doesn't necessarily mean that Caspa is done for in the long term. Look, it rallied from a 72% pullback at a 72% pullback before another 366% run. Back here, it had a 60% pullback before a 800% run. These along the way for these very bullish long-term trends, like they see these pullbacks, and you kind of get this pattern of diminishing returns where you get a pullback and then a lower high, or a high that, not a lower high, but a high that doesn't just go quite as high or as overextended as the previous one. Right now, we're just leaving the red easy band zone, right? And this is why I like using the easy bands, because they just help you find trend exhaustion paired with the RSI. We said bearish divergence, which is a sign of trend exhaustion, paired with the fact that we were trading up here in the red easy bands. This is very likely to do a mean reversion, a pullback to the 21-week simple moving average. Then you can reassess. Maybe it does a full reversion back down to the green easy bands. Maybe it just holds at the 21-week simple moving average and the uptrend continues. Or maybe we start chopping sideways. We can reassess once we get there. But for right now, we've been in a period of a little bit of overextension, and we're starting to see that mean reversion start to play out.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Forrest. With that being said, my friends, it's time for our newest segment, Rate My Portfolio. And on this week's, we had a lot of submissions to the. So for those of you that submitted, thank you very much. If you want to submit your portfolios for review, you can submit it. You can DM us on Twitter at SinCityCrypto1, or you can hop into our Discord, and we'll drop a Discord link in there. Hop into our Discord. There's a portfolio submission channel, or you can DM me or Crypto Billy, and then we'll let you know if we pick you. And well, this week we picked, I believe, a good one. It's a good one to talk about. So we tweeted this. We'll be rating this portfolio submitted by Brendan on tomorrow's live show. Now, a couple things important to note. This portfolio is worth a total of $65,000. And Brendan's goal is to 20x in the next bull market. 20x in the next bull market. And here is what the portfolio looks like. Okay. Now, guys, when you are rating, and also to those of you in the chat, I want you to play along. Give us your thoughts. What do you think? What do you like? What do you dislike? What would you replace? What would you add? How would you move the percentages? And give us a rating 1 through 10, and we'll pick a couple of good comments and we'll share them. But here's how his portfolio breaks down. 22% of that 65K is in ADA, and then 10% is equally in Hedera, Quant, Algorand, and XRP. 8% each to Avalanche and Internet Computer, 7% to Polygon Matic, 5% to Near Protocol, 5% to Aptos, and the other 5% includes Joe, Min, and Kopi. No idea what the hell those are. So that is what his portfolio looks like. Now, keep in mind, his goal is to 20x in the next bull market. Forrest, share your thoughts. What do you like? What do you dislike? And give us a rating 1 through 10.
All right. So here's the thing with this one. There is possibility. So you're 20x. First thing you got to understand, if you're looking for 20x, you're in a high risk tranche, right? You're not going to get a 20x without taking significant risks. So in some regard, I think you're down the right path. I think a lot of these are high risk cryptocurrencies, and the problem that I would identify with this portfolio is the fact that it has a lot more potential downside in a bear market. I think all of these coins could see another 30-40% drawdowns, maybe some even more. Whereas, when you have kind of that Bitcoin core, Bitcoin ETH kind of core part of your portfolio that we see, so popular, that 30-40% drawdown is possible, but it's less likely than when you're in a bunch of these other alternative layer ones. And that's what I'm seeing a lot of. I mean, Cardano, layer 1, HBAR, layer 1, Algorand, layer 1, XRP, layer 1, AVAX, layer 1, ICP, layer 1, Matic, layer 2, kind of side chain-ish. You could call it, quasi layer 1, but we'll call it a layer 2. Aptos, layer 1, Near, layer 1. So you're taking you're taking a shotgun approach to layer ones. I don't see many application layer stuff, which is fine. But I'm of the opinion that there's going to be just a few layer ones that end up being very, very popular. I don't think there's enough liquidity to go around for every layer 1 to see massive rallies. I like QNT, and that's the one that's not a layer 1. I think QNT there is fine, and I do think it could see a massive, massive run. And any one of these cryptocurrencies could drop 30-40% more and then see a 20, 40, 50x. For me, I would take so you could have, I don't, as long as you have the thesis that layer ones are going to be see a massive run, that's a respectable thesis, and having a shotgun approach towards layer ones is fine. I just don't see a Solana in here, which is my personal favorite layer 1. I get why people don't like it, but I would add some Solana. And yeah, I just don't know if I agree with the thesis that layer 1s are gonna, 20, you're gonna get a 20x. You very well might, but I would be taking more concentrated, convicted bets on 1 to 2, maybe 3 layer ones that you really like. For me, that looks like Solana, and project, maybe not even layer ones, but for me, it's like Solana and Chainlink. And you could add in a third. You could, for you, it might be Cardano and AVAX, or Cardano and QNT. That's fine. But I just think you might be spread a little bit thin here. I'd want to see more research going into, a specific chain. For you, it might be HBAR. If you really, really believe in HBAR, but you have to feel really comfortable. Right now, it doesn't feel, and I don't know you, it just doesn't feel like you're really comfortable or confident in any one of these chains.
Yep.
You're just kind of shotgun approaching across a bunch of layer ones. I'd like to see, more convicted bets on a few layer ones that you really, really like and you really believe have 20x potential.
Forrest, out of the 10% allocations, right? Hedera, Quant, Algo, and XRP, which one do you think has the best chance of doing a 20x?
Of the 10%?
Yeah.
The best chance of doing a 20x. Well, it's going to be tough with XRP. There is a crazy XRP bull scenario, and I'll respect that, but I don't think it's super likely. I think it's going to be tough. Algo's been, here's the thing with Algo. Algo's been a down only chart. It's been a horrendous chart, and they've really, really been struggling, especially with the SEC calling them a security. So there's a chance that they find a turning point and they see 100x because they're down so bad. But again, that's not a horse I personally want to bet on. As far as quality, and I don't know a ton about Hedera Hashgraph. I'm not an expert on HBAR, but I would say QNT. I'd say QNT is probably my favorite fundamentally out of these, and I think it pumps the hardest when real demand comes into the space, and that's partially because of it has really, really good fully distributed tokenomics, right? Like 98% of the QNT is out there. So when we see, and we've seen this happen on the chart twice, when there's a QNT narrative and there's demand coming in for QNT, it just rips really, really hard. And then it has this kind of slow bleed that it's in currently. But once we get a QNT narrative, I do think QNT will rip pretty hard. So I'd probably say QNT. I think a 20x might be a little bit tough depending on what kind of bull market we get. But I think the risk reward is probably best on QNT for me personally.
Yeah. So do you kind of agree that someone who wants a 20x, they definitely want to take a lot more risk? We've the couple portfolios we've done. One was a 6 to 10x, which was pretty fair. You can throw Bitcoin, Ethereum. Those are pretty fair 6 to 10x possibilities. We had one where the guy just wanted to pay off his mortgage. This one seems like he definitely wants more exposure to risk. To get a 20x out of something that is solid, has longevity, I think it's going to take a lot. And so anything you would add position to or take position away from, or anything missing that you would add that you think maybe has more than a 20x potential that could lift the rest of this portfolio up to the 1.3 million that he's looking for?
Yeah, I think the problem with this is like a lot of these coins in a bear market, you're getting bled dry by some of the emissions, right? ICP with emissions, even AVAX with emissions. Cardano's emissions aren't bad, and you can stake, right? And a lot of these you can stake. AVAX you can stake. Aptos has really low circulating supply and aggressive emissions. Like Aptos, I think you're potentially losing some capital. You're potentially getting bled dry, and then you're just kind of hoping for a big Aptos narrative to emerge. And I don't know. I personally don't see it happening. So without potentially taking further downside in the meantime, I would personally add Chainlink and Solana. Those are the two that, and I get maybe not everyone's like a Solana fan, and Solana's kind of like it's run a little bit, so it might need a pullback. You might want to look for Solana around like 17, 18, 19 bucks, right? Not necessarily buy it at 21, 22 right now. But I'd really like to see some Chainlink in here. I think Chainlink is really something that is both kind of a large-ish cap token that can also do a 20x. 100. We're at $7 Chainlink.
Yeah,
$140 Chainlink. To me, it's an aggressive target, but I could to me seeing $140 chain link is so much more realistic than seeing a $20 a 20x on XRP, for example, or even a 20x on some of this other stuff. So I'd like to see Chainlink in here. I'd like to see consolidation of L1s into more, into like it, whether it's HBAR or Algo or QNT. I would like to see higher allocations and some consolidation of this portfolio and cut stuff that you don't believe. Like I think that you don't believe in. Like I think Aptos could be something that could be cut and consolidated into something else that you have a more concentrated bet on. I think XRP is fine, but I think you could probably cut that and look to move it to Chainlink or something like that. I just think there's some cleanup that could be done here for sure.
Awesome. Forrest, you got to go, so we're going to let you go, and then I'll kind of give my take on it. But anything, any last words you want to give us before we let you go, my friend?
No, guys. Expect volatility. It's not going to be a straight shot. It's going to be tough. There's going to be shakeouts. There's going to be pumps that you feel like FOMOing in. Right now, I think I'll continue to preach more conservative strategies of I know that's kind of boring. Everyone wants like an altcoin. Give me an altcoin that I can just go all in on and whatever. I'm preaching, DCA in, try to make more money in, more US dollars if possible with additional skills and businesses, whatever that may be, promotions. But just DCA and diversify to some degree, even outside of crypto, guys. We see crypto has been in a large drawn out bull market, and eventually I expect that to turn around. But there's potential gains elsewhere. Look at orange juice, look at cattle, look at some of these commodities. You don't have to, and I don't recommend anybody have 100% of their net worth allocated towards crypto. I know a lot of people do that, but there's a little diversification outside of crypto goes a long way. The final thing I'll say is that you look at a portfolio like this, and it has the illusion of being diversified because there's 10 or 12 different things in there. But in reality, most of these L1s and most of these cryptocurrencies are crypto exposure. They're very correlated. So if the entire crypto market goes down, your diversification is not doing you very much good. So I know we're looking at crypto only portfolios here, but in your vast, in your wider portfolio, it's not a bad idea to have some real estate. It's not a bad idea to have some commodities. It's not a bad idea to have some gold. Definitely not a bad idea to have some stable coins or treasuries earning 5% right now, short-term treasuries, but some stable coins earning 5% yield in Coinbase or through other methods. So I think I'll preach diversification and slow and steady DCA in as we go and approach this next halving. That's what I would say.
And then what's your number? Rate the portfolio 1 through 10.
For me, it's going to be low. It's going to be like it's going to be a 4. I don't want to go below 4 because 4. I genuinely think this could be one of those sleeper portfolios where we get a wild bull market and like ICP does a crazy number. Yeah. But I'm going to say I think there needs to be some cleanup there. I'll give it a 4, which is it's nothing personal. It's just it doesn't fit my personal goals either. So maybe being a little bit harsh. No Chainlink, no Solana.
Okay, cool. Forrest, thank you, my friend. We look forward to having you back on tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day, brother. We'll see you tomorrow.
See you. Peace.
All right. So let me give you my take on this portfolio, okay? So I have a few things. So we got to remember, guys, is my ideal portfolio and what I want to do with it, my goals are going to be a lot different than what your goals are, right? So I don't think it's fair to bash Brendan's portfolio based off of what he wants to do, right? It's his money. He works for it. He puts, it's worth $65K. It's not chump change, right? For all we know, it could be peanuts to him or it could be a lot of money to him, but he wants a 20X. So based off of what he wants, I agree with a lot of the things Forrest is saying, way too much exposure to L1s. And if you want a 20X, you're going to have to take some risk, right? You want the solid projects that are going to land between that 8 to 12X. And then you want the ones that have the potential of a 50, 60X, but can also only 2X, maybe not even get to their all-time high. And so Cardano, 20X, we're talking about a 20X from here, $5. I definitely think that's feasible. No problem with that. Hedera, 20X feasible. Quant, 20X. That's over $1,700. Very possible. Great tokenomics, only 14 million or 14 or 16 million circulating supply. Great team behind it. It's a software as a service, not even a blockchain. Algorand is very intriguing to me. 10 cents versus a $3.56 all-time high, which would put us at about a 30x. So you still have room, even if Algorand does not get to the full $3.56, that 30x or 35x. A 20x would bring it to 20 bucks. XRP, I don't think by the next bull market is going to 20x. Not saying that doesn't mean I'm not bullish on XRP. I'm just saying I don't think it's very likely. Avalanche 20x, you're looking at 200 bucks. Definitely think that's possible. ICP, too risky for me. Matic 20x, you're looking at 10 bucks. I don't know. I don't think it's going to get there. Aptos now near is interesting, and I'm looking to occasionally look down on my phone because I have some notes here. I took some time, did some research. Near 20x would just take it to its all-time high. It's a layer 1. It runs on DAG. It is fast. It's cheap, and it's extremely developer friendly. Right? They have this bridge to where any person using Java, which is it's either Java or JavaScript, which is the most common programming language in the world, can use the same programming language and write contracts and write code on your protocol. I think that's very important. But here's a couple of coins I thought was interesting that might be a good add that have that 20x upside potential, have that longevity, have decent tokenomics. One of them is Flow. Flow is 100x away from its next all-time high. They just integrated with Ethereum Virtual Machine. We know they have the NFL on their side. They have the NBA on their side. Lots of big partnerships. You have Dapper Labs, CryptoKitties, NBA Top Shots. That is an interesting one. Also, I'm taking a look at narratives. Rocket Pool is something interesting that I took a look at. So Rocket Pool, we can assume liquid staking is going to continue to grow as a narrative. A 20x market cap or a 20x for Rocket Pool would put it up to a 7.6 billion market cap. And if we compare that to the leader in the space, which is Lido, coming in at 6.5 billion all-time high market cap, I don't think that's too far off. And I'm assuming with Brendan, if instead of 20xing, he falls short in 15x's to 800K or $1 million instead of 1.3 million, I don't think he's going to have an issue with it. I think another interesting one is the graph, GRT. That fits into your layer 2, Ethereum, your AI, it's data querying. It's very interesting. That should be an easy 20x. And I want to share a resource with you guys. So this is cryptorank.io. And the great thing about this one that you can't really do on CoinMarketCap is you can customize your layouts. And so here I have the current price and then the last all-time high price. So if we go and take a look at GRT and take a look at where it is from its all-time high as far as price. So it's currently in the top 50, okay? The graph is in the top 50. Take a look at what was its last all-time high for the graph. I'm going to scoop over here. Last all-time high price was $2.86, and we're currently sitting at, what was it, 8 cents. 8 cents to $2.80. That is way more than an easy 20x. 10x would be 80 cents. A 20x would be $1.60. And you're looking at almost $3 all-time high. Again, I do look at things like narrative, fit in the narrative. And then also, guys, if you're looking to diversify, I would add some sort of gaming. I think Gala is an interesting one as well. You're looking at, let's just call it 2 pennies. All-time high was 70 cents. That's a 35x. And they're a top project. They're the leader in gaming. I want to see something in DeFi. I think DeFi is going to have a big narrative moving forward. And then I kind of agree with Forrest. A lot of L1s here. You can definitely consolidate that. And so that is my of course, none of this financial advice, but that is what I'm looking at. I would look, and because you want a 20x doesn't mean you shouldn't have Bitcoin. Doesn't mean you shouldn't have Ethereum. Because if one of these projects you're looking at 20x completely dies off, doesn't come back, becomes a zombie chain, you have these other tokens and the longevity and the consistency of gains of something like Bitcoin and Ethereum to level these things out. You're going to get ones that explode. You're going to get ones that don't. You're going to get ones that, So it's good to stay balanced, even if you're looking for 20x. So for me, this portfolio is a 5. And just to kind of, and Rocco, and I wasn't really paying attention to what the chat was saying. What were some of the numbers you were seeing as far as people rating? I saw some 6s,
6, 7,
some 7s.
5. Yeah, there was a little bit. Some people also 4. I mean, it's a mixed feeling. I guess it depends on the people. What you're looking in, I mean, to achieve at the end of the day. So that's what it is.
Yeah, that's what we got to remember too, guys. Again, right? This portfolio might be a 10 if his only goal was to 5x or 6x or 10x or hold for the next 10 years. This might be a 10, but because he wants a 20x in the next 2 to 4 years, I give it a 5. And so I want to thank you, Brendan, for submitting your portfolio. Hope you got some great information that you could potentially use to do whatever you want with it. And so if you guys, we do this every single Tuesday. If you want to participate, if you want your portfolio rated live on air, and also, guys, I'm working on getting a special review from a content creator, an expert, every Tuesday. I'm working on a pretty big one next week. And so whoever's we choose next week, you should get a pretty interesting portfolio review from one of the biggest traders in our space. I'll just leave it at that. And again, if you want to submit, you can submit it via Twitter DM at SinCityCrypto1 or submit it via our Discord DM, and I think the link is in there as well in the chat. If it's not, Rocco, if you want to throw it in there, have our friend Nightbot throw it in there. But you can do that, or you can just email it to media@sincitycrypto.io. If you want to remain anonymous, we promise you we will keep you anonymous. With that being said, guys, I do want to give a couple more shout outs to channel sponsors, CAMS, Blue Wire Technology. If you want to help your business grow and maximize your networking, IT, and cybersecurity, visit bluewiretech.com. Also, big thank you to Radix, Radically Better DeFi. So if you want to learn more about their ecosystem, what's happening there, visit radixdlt.com. Also, guys, again, go follow us on Twitter at SinCityCrypto1. Go follow Forrest on Twitter at Sistine Research. If you want to support the channel, there's plenty of ways to do so. And guys, I think it's safe to say, I think Rob's going to be back tomorrow. Should be an interesting show tomorrow. We'll have me, Rob, and Forrest. Should be interesting. And with that being said, my mouth is dry. I can't go on tangents and talk like Rob does, but you'll get him back tomorrow. So with that being said, Rocco, that was more like a shot than a tornado. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. What an amazing show. Come back tomorrow, same place, same time, for an even more amazing show. On behalf of all of us here at Sin Crypto, we love you. Peace.
Everybody know we here for entertainment and info. Gonna show you how to get that big dough. So every day stay tapped in for big facts, no capping. With Bitcoin, if you're in, then you win. We divide the pie with no fraction. It's Big Rob, David. I spit the game, but they gave it. Named according to your favorite. I got dry powder, why save it? To the OGs, new beginners. Special shout out to the well members. Buy the dip, sell winners. Ain't really nothing you can tell sinners. Tune in for the latest new flavors. They gonna teach us mean coins. They polarizing like barbecue chicken pizzas. I laugh with a major grin. Laggers, we trade them in. Baddies, they came to sin. And sinners gon' play to win. Screaming hola, till my bags are flowing over. Hold ya to the moon and to the solar. Won't I? Don't be letting FOMO control ya. It's over when the finger tornado close ya.